So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that is mobile home park investing. And I'm going to compare it actually to a very popular investing strategy, and that is apartments. But before we jump in today's show, if you've ever wanted to learn how to invest in mobile home parks, or maybe you want to invest with me and want to know more, you can head on over to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/invest, nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/invest. If you're a regular listener and we have some kind of relationship and you're interested in jumping in one of my mobile home park deals, again, check out nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/invest. All right, so let's talk about the big craze of investing in apartments. I know that people get involved in real estate wholesaling, or they read a book like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and they get so excited about one day I'm going to invest in apartment buildings, right? And that, to them, they think, oh man, I'll make millions doing that, and I'm going to make a ton of cash flow, and that's eventually where I would like to end up. And I got to tell you, it's not a bad strategy, but I have found that mobile home park investing is, frankly, the strategy that I prefer. And if you've ever listened to this podcast, you know that that's kind of my thing. So today I'm actually going to be comparing mobile home park investing versus investing in apartments. And I will tell you, I am a little biased, and that's the mobile home park investing is what I've chosen. But I will tell you what, I'm going to do some pros and cons for each. So let's talk a little bit about actually getting the deal, because getting the deal is the most important part of real estate investing. You got to buy a good deal on the front end, and you can't let the sexiness of an investment try to get you in the long term. So investing in apartments, it's pretty competitive, right? Everyone and their mother wants to buy apartments. Anyone reads a book, they want to go out and start making offers. There's a lot of seminars on buying apartments. And so I am actually, in terms of the competitive nature of buying apartment buildings, I'm going to give that a C-. It's a very, very tough industry to get into. And because of that, I see a lot of marginal deals running across my desk. Now, for me, I buy my own parks and operate them, but I also invest in other people's parks and invest alongside them. So for both of those, I'm talking in both of these scenarios. Now, let's talk a little bit about mobile home park investing. A lot of people have a stigma against mobile home park investing. As a matter of fact, when I say mobile home park investing, a lot of people will, mistakenly say, oh, you invest in mobile homes. And this could not be farther from the truth. I love to invest in big, giant parking lots and then rent those to people who own their own homes. Now, the cool part is sometimes I feel like correcting people, but then other times I'm like, you know what? Why don't we let this stigma kind of stick around? Because really, it's less competitive, right? There's a lot more people who are attracted to apartment buildings rather than the mobile home park business, because frankly, they just don't understand how amazing this niche could be, right? They think it's full of trailer trash and low-class people, and that you are dealing with, really just a tougher business model. And by the way, if you're not running your business correctly, you could be. And some of those stigmas or stereotypes are real when people don't operate a mobile home park the right way. Now, ironically, the same thing could be happening to an apartment building, could be a total war zone. So let me say, by the way, that both of these investments can be good, but you have to buy the right way. You've got to get the deal. You got to buy the right park for the right price, right? The right park, the right place, the right terms. And so I am finding that I am able to find better deals in the mobile home park space than other people would find in buying apartment buildings. Okay. Again, just my experience and something that my mentors have taught me. Now, something else. Number 2 is turnover. Now, let's talk about turnover in apartments. I read the other day that the average stay of someone in an apartment building is actually 14 months. Now, I don't know about you, but that is brutal. So that means that every 14 months in an apartment, you're having to turn over that apartment. And there's going to have to be a cleaning and repairs and possibly new carpet. I mean, every 14 months, and it's a mess. I remember actually when I first moved out to California, I did a 6-month lease on an apartment in Newbury Park, California. And I knew that I was going to be transient, hadn't found my final place, but I moved into this place, had my dog in there. And I remember I used to walk my dog, and sometimes it would rain, and she would come in and she would track in muddy footprints into this apartment that I just moved into with brand new carpeting. And by the way, I was pretty clean, right? I used to wipe off her paws and stuff like that, but it still got, on the carpet. And, I remember opening up the door to the apartment, and leaves would come in from the outside, and it just wasn't my place, right? I was hard on it. And so 6 months later, I moved out and moved into a condo with a friend of mine. And so again, the turnover is high. People are hard on their apartments, and it is management intensive because of that. Now, the beauty of a mobile home park is that if you are buying them correctly and managing them correctly, the average length of stay is going to be around 7 years. Now, you heard that correctly, 7 years. Why? Is because when you have a park that you're running the right way, you should be running it where the tenants own their own home. And the issue there is, again, to move a home out of a mobile home park, the average cost right now is going to be around $10,000. That's right, you heard that, $10,000 to move a home out of a mobile home park of which the tenant owns. So rarely is a tenant going to move out of that property. Now, the cool part is the tenant can sell that home to somebody else, and they have to reapply to the park with you, and they will then be the new tenant. But you are actually leaving your tenant with the responsibility of finding somebody new. Very rarely are you going to have a park that you're running well with good rules and regulations, and you're keeping it nice, and all of a sudden the house goes vacant. That's a very, very rare occurrence. Now, when you buy it, it may be that way, but once you, again, fix it up and fill it up, it's not going to be that way. And so I love mobile home parks because once you get them stabilized, man, it is just very, very, very easy to manage because people want to be there. There's a pride of ownership. There's a community, that people don't have people on their side walls or above them or below them. And it's just really, 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 really nice. So number 3 is competition between asset classes. So first I talked about the competition between actually acquiring a mobile home park, but let's pretend like you have a tenant who's living in one of your apartments and you are renting that out for $1,400 a month. Economy turns a little bit, and all of a sudden another apartment building is running a special that says, hey, we're going to give you 6 months free if you move in, or we're going to cut this down to $1,200. People who live in apartments are really transient. So all they need is maybe a U-Haul and buy a couple of pizzas for their buddies, and people can move instantaneously. And so the turnover is high. Again, when you own apartments, you are competing with all the other apartments in the area for tenants, right? You have hardly any strategic advantage. The beauty of a mobile home park, again, is because people own their own home. If all of a sudden someone's offering $100 cheaper on space rent, I tell you what, they're not going to move over that, right? They're not going to move over that because it's too expensive to move a mobile home. Next is in apartments, people do not treat their community like it's their home, right? They're treating it like it's transient. So they will go out and, loiter, and there's graffiti, and there is, they'll leave the trash on the side of the dumpster without putting it in there. And so once you get the right tenant profile in a mobile home park, again, they feel like it's their home because they own that home. You will see that they will keep their lots clean. They will keep their houses painted. They will not have trash. Again, once you have the right tenants and you're enforcing rules and you set that expectation, there is a pride that goes along with that community. People in apartments do not treat it, and apartments look that way. I'm not saying they're a bad investment, but this is why I like mobile home parks. Next is, I find, now there's a pro and the con here. Let's talk about apartments. And this is one area where apartments may have an edge, but I don't think so. I'm not going to give you an inch here. Is once you have a mobile home park stabilized, right? You're enforcing rules and regulations. You have the tenants who own their homes. You've brought the rents to market. You have the right people in there. People understand the drill. You've got a good manager on site. It is very, very easy to operate. Very easy to operate. They'll almost run themselves once you have them stabilized. Typically, we buy parks that need a turnaround. And so we go in there and turn around the park. And so that is the initial work where we create the most value. Apartment buildings are tougher to manage because of the turnover, because people don't, again, all the above things that I have mentioned. One caveat here, which if I had to give apartments one thing over mobile home parks, is that there tends to be more larger management companies who can handle the management of a building better than the operation of a mobile home park, right? There tends to be not as many big company corporate managers who are as good. So you typically are better off if you are managing the manager of your mobile home park, okay? You are managing the on-site manager. So that might turn some people off. But again, I prefer it. The asset class is worth it. And I feel like you're going to make a lot more money this way, at least with my experience. By the way, I've owned apartments and I've also owned mobile home parks. So I'm speaking from experience. This is a big one, number 6, and my last one, is that there is typically more room for rent growth in the mobile home park business. So there are 2 kinds of rent growth. One is the rent growth where a space, mobile home park space, is below what the market currently is. So let's say all the mobile home park spaces in the area are renting between $400 and $500, and you buy a park that's at $300. You can raise that. And the same could be said for an apartment, right? You may buy an apartment building and rents are low, and you could raise those, and that's fine. But right now, the way that our economy is going, the price of mobile home park pads, the renting, are actually lower than they should be. I mean, overall, the market is lower than it should be. Average apartment rents right now are running $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 a month for apartments, which in my experience is actually a step down from a good mobile home in a nice park. And those rents could be $600, $700, $800, $900, in my opinion. California actually has got a good taste of this. You will see in a lot of parks that rents are starting to hit $1,600, $1,700, $1,800 a month because the value to apartments is still much, much, much better. Apartments are actually your competition when it comes to pricing. And so I feel over the long term that mobile home park rents are continuing to rise. So I'll review. Number 1 is it's going to be easier to get a better deal on a mobile home park than it is apartments. Just there's too much competition in terms of apartments. Yes, you could find a deal. If you've done it, great, high five, right? But I found better value in the mobile home park space because of the stigma. Number 2, you're going to have less turnover in the mobile home park space. 3, in terms of the competition between apartments, again, the mobile home park's going to win because it's going to be much, much, much harder to move for a tenant to get out of there. And if they do want to move, they have to sell their mobile home, right? And they're going to do that turnover for you. For just the appearance, people are going to treat the community like it's their home. They're going to make better relationships. They're going to build better roots. It's going to be better, nicer. There's going to be holiday decorations. It's just a better place to live. 5 is, in my opinion, they are easy to operate if you have a manager. The one downside maybe is that the larger management companies have better systems and processes for apartments. And so you're typically going to have to manage the manager if you manage it the way that I do. And lastly, I like mobile home parks better than apartments because there's more room for rent growth in the market as a whole. I still think that market is suppressed. If you've ever want to do a mobile home park deal and want to invest alongside me, you've been a regular listener of mine, you feel like you've got a relationship with me, go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com toback.com/invest and learn how you could partner with me on my next park. Talk to you soon.